And we're joined also by Mr. Neelkantan Venkatraman, VP and Global Head of Cloud, AI and Edge Business, Tata Communications, leading cloud, AI and edge adoption globally. Before we start the conversation, I request the startup founders joining us for the next segment also on stage to have a group photo. We also need on stage right now Mr. Saurav Bandyopadhyay, Mr. Ravinder Kumar, and Mr. Rohitash Dev Sharma. If we can have the startup founders joining us for the next segment also on stage for a quick group photo, please. We have Mr. Ravinder Kumar, Mr. Rohitash Dev Sharma, and Mr. Saurav Bandyopadhyay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and I request the startup founders to rejoin us after the panel discussion. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll start the panel now.
Good morning, everyone. I request you to please take up your seats. Okay, so under India AI mission, we are focusing on data sovereignty, infrastructure sovereignty, and model sovereignty. And we are trying to see if we can have this DPI kind of moment with AI. And to discuss all of these, we have these interesting panels or learned panel with me. We are also going to focus on the sovereignty part because that's the theme of the session. So without wasting any time, I want to ask questions to my panel members, but here is the the guideline or maybe the context for all of you. So I will start with one common question to all of my panel members, and after that I will ask one question to each of them. And if time permits, we can take one question from the audience. This is how we are going to conduct the session. So to start with, let me ask the common question to all of you. What is sovereignty as per your perspective? And maybe Tarun, you can start.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Amit. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This is Tarun from E2E Networks. So sovereignty, like according to me, is all about intent. So, so sovereignty is not a checklist that, okay, we did data localization, check. We did hardware which is located in India, check. So it's about the intent, like how do we intend to remain in control of our destiny. So which means that every nuanced decision we take about our compute stack has to be seen from the lens of sovereignty. So like where intentionality is very important. So one is data localization. Second is whether the data centers themselves are owned by Indian entities, which means that there is no foreign influence on our data centers per se. From a hardware perspective, as of today, we don't have much of a choice but to go with the best hardware that the world has to offer us. And it's very, very hard to delink from the hardware supply chain. Now, third piece is that apart from data and compute localization in an Indian entity, like is your cloud operator Indian? And are they dependent, is your cloud operator dependent on software which is coming from outside India, or they have ownership of software by way of their expertise into open source and being able to operate the whole cloud without any interference from outside. So that's like, I think, the final piece of the puzzle till the infrastructure layer. Now increasingly in sovereign AI, models are becoming a part of infrastructure itself. So where the model builders are working very closely with infrastructure providers. So I think that's the fifth pillar of sovereignty. So ultimately all of these have to be there, and at every layer of the stack that any organization chooses, the intentionality has to be there that like, look, I want to be as independent as possible, as in control of my destiny as possible. And my destiny is obviously linked to the destiny of my country. So I think like what we have been lacking is that from a, if you look at like some of the countries in the East, Japan comes to our mind. Like basically the intentionality of sovereignty has been very strong in many of these societies. So I think that is something that we have been lacking in India, somewhat lacking in India. I'm not saying completely lacking. And I think like over last couple of years with the global events, that has drastically changed. So looking forward to more views from my colleagues.
Yes, Lakshmi. Please.
Talking of sovereign intelligence, it really, as Tarun rightly put it, there are several aspects to it. One of the key areas where we need to scale up in India would be on the hardware front, where we need access to heterogeneous hardware. Sovereignty means you're not tied up to one or other type of hardware. It means that a developer or a researcher in an institute or university in India has the choice of running his workload on the right hardware for that workload. And second is energy efficiency and sustainability. For us to scale this to huge data centers, lots of compute available to the entire AI community here, we need to make sure that we have energy efficient hardware, that we have the power, energy, cooling infrastructure that goes into developing data centers. And third, ease of access in terms of programmability. A developer or an enterprise should be able to use standardized APIs, programming models that are common, and not have to program for any particular hardware. So that choice should be on the developer to use whichever workload he wants with least effort to translate it across hardware. So that is an important aspect of sovereignty. And the fourth would be to be ready for all cutting edge workloads. For example, for the kind of inferencing applications that you see now, multi-agent workflows, it requires a huge amount of token processing. It means that you need almost real-time inferencing speeds. So making sure that our compute infrastructure can provide such inferencing speeds for us to scale and build businesses on agentic workflows would be important.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Amit, for the question. And just doubling down on what Tarun said, but before that, quick introduction. My name is Neil. I head the Global Cloud AI and Edge business for Tata Communications. And thanks a lot for having me here. So sovereignty, in one word, if I can describe it, it's to ensure that you don't have a kill switch with somebody else who can turn off the knob and you have no access to your models, to your data, to the compute, to your data center where your compute and data is residing. So the ability to avoid somebody else controlling your destiny, as Tarun said, and have the destiny in your hands. And it starts at every layer. And so the full sovereignty means that every layer, which is the passive infrastructure layer, which is the data center, colo space, power, then the compute infrastructure, the cloud management platform. And within the management platform itself, I think sometimes we forget that while data could be residing in India, the control plane, the orchestration and the provisioning mechanism could still be outside the country. So the ability to have the entire cloud management platform also within the sovereign borders, and then the metadata, which is residing over the data of the data, should also be within the country. So sometimes we also forget the user data could be outside the country, while the raw data the native data could be in the country. And then last but not the least, the application and the model, the application, the use case layer itself. So the entire stack should be in India. So we do have some challenges in some parts, but I think overall we are moving in the direction of getting full sovereignty. So to some extent, I would say we have with Indian cloud providers, we have avoided a situation where we can have the kill switch outside the country. Even in the software layer, we moved a lot from a management platform, a lot to open source, whether it's OpenStack based cloud, whether it's Kubernetes based clusters where it's open source. You can't really kill it overnight and avoid proprietary software. So that helps us move up the, I call the sovereignty ladder, if you will. So that's for me, sovereignty.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I think what we understood that this is not only about data models and compute. This is also about design, discipline, and development as well overall. Now, let me move ahead with the discussion further. My question is to Lakshmi. So, Lakshmi, as demand for frontier AI scale continues to grow, now compute is beginning to be a strategic. From your perspective, what would be a AI digital public infrastructure looks like in practice? And if you can discuss about, the heterogeneous hardware concept as well, because, if we think from a homogeneous hardware perspective, we are limiting ourselves. So heterogeneous hardware is also something that we should opt for and discuss. So I just wanted to listen your opinion on that.
Thank you. Yeah, as you rightly said, locking ourselves into one type of hardware is not really sovereign. So you're actually over-dependent on one type. So there should be enough of infrastructure consisting of different types of hardware. As I said, fast inferencing workflows which are required to scale this and be a truly sovereign AI ecosystem needs almost real-time inferencing. We need easy programmability. We need PyTorch or MLIR or standard compilers to be used. We need standard APIs to be used by application developers. If these are there, combined with data security and sovereignty, and the ability to scale clusters, the ability to scale data centers should be easy from an operational and technical standpoint. In addition to this, if you have energy efficient hardware that can actually produce better results with less power, with the right level of cooling and other infrastructure, that would make us really sovereign.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. And now, just building on that, Tarun, if I may ask you from a perspective of India AI compute provider, so what is the single biggest bottleneck that you see specifically on the scaling domestic AI cloud today? And which constraint most directly impact or maybe impact the sovereignty in practice? Like you can talk about capital, power, network, talent, policy, etc.
I think majorly when we look at the kind of compute sizes that are being announced globally, compared to that, till now, India has shown up to be slightly behind the curve, but I think that is very, very rapidly changing. So where now capital availability, although was constrained in the past, we have seen that increasingly it is becoming more and more available for putting up more compute. Policy support has been really great over last year or so, or even before that from the government to set up more compute infrastructure with good policies around data center and especially a very, very clear cut taxation policy around that, how to attract the global cloud computing to kind of make India one of the key base. So I think overall, I don't feel as of today we are constrained. I think all the constraints are constraints of the past. I think we should be able to build a lot of AI compute capacity very, very rapidly in India now. So that's my view.
Okay. So Neelkantan, this is to you. connectivity is often the invisible layer of AI sovereignty, right? And how should India and Global South economies think about integrating network, cloud, and edge so AI infrastructure reaches population scale beyond major cities while remaining secure and interoperable?
I think there are multiple questions. I hope the audience got the question. So we talked about India, we talked about Global South, we talked about tier 2, tier 3 cities, we talked about network. So let me try and make sense out of this question and impress upon the audience. So one is, of course, network is super important. I think we often forget that network is the glue, the invisible layer which carries data between the clouds, between the user and the compute. In this case, if you're inferencing models, then of course the users are accessing and the models and the inference endpoints could be in a local compute, it could be in a core data center, in a centralized cloud. So networks are very, very important, and latency is a big factor. So therefore, networks are super important. And networks are pretty interdependent. So in that sense, I'm weaving in the Global South as well. Networks are carried across the country through subsea cables, which Tata Communications has. And therefore, the ability to actually, now I'm weaving the third part, which is the AI interdependence, right? So I think it would be very narrow-minded to just say that, okay, we want to be completely sovereign and shut our borders to anything from outside. And specifically in the context of Global South, given that we want to take a leadership position amongst at least the Global South and foster a lot of collaboration. And therefore, I would reckon that we need to look at some sort of differential privacy, if you will. It's a difficult concept to understand. We know absolute privacy, but there's something called the differential privacy where certain parts of the data can be applied. You can have absolute privacy and certain parts can be shared. So let me give you an example. For example, we are very big in agriculture, right? Even healthcare, right? So we have citizen scale, 1.5 billion kind of population, and 60% of the population is on agriculture. So we can use the local agri data to produce agri-tech models and agri use cases, and then keep the data local, but take the weights out of the model and give it to the, and cooperate with the Global South. And similarly on healthcare, we can do that, and then so have a very, what I call as a federated cooperation amongst the Global South. So data stays local. I'm not advocating that we should share our data with outside the borders, but you can have a mechanism to do federated training, to apply differential privacy policies and create a collaborative mechanism between the Global South so that all the other countries who are part of the Global South can also benefit from the advancement of in AI, which India is now, I think, cheerleading, right, in a sense. So, so overall, I think networks, the way we have developed our networks, we have made sure that we can give access to low latency compute and inferencing. We're also now advancing the concept of scaled low latency inferencing through edge compute by taking compute closer to the population, to the citizens and to enterprise users, by having edge compute POPs where we can have distributed GPU and do this inferencing of small action models and small language models with footprints less than 2 billion parameters, and can help these aggregate tech use cases, healthcare use cases, and industry 4.0 use cases for manufacturing, etc. So a combination of these will help us foster, I think, advancement of AI amongst the Global South, and the ability to take AI deep into the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 cities, and not only restricted to the the metro cities.
I think you talked about federated learning, an interesting concept. Most of us work on decentralized federated learning kind of system. Still, we are seeing some research and progress around the centralized federated learning. That could be interesting to see how it unfolds. just one follow-up question. You talked about, edge, like inferencing edge. So how do you see this 6G is going to help, at least countries like India, because we are still, evolving into this stage?
Sorry?
6G at edge for
6G,
inferencing.
okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about 6G.
Yeah, because,
okay.
we have to deal with videos as well, not only images or,
No, 6G is definitely going to help us. So as of now, I think from an edge computing point of view, we have two ways to access edge compute: fixed line networks for sure, but 5G is fast being used for driving the connectivity for edge compute, and 6G is going to be really a game changer, because even now, even in 5G with we are getting sub 10 millisecond latency, but it is not. It's not robust enough for us, especially if you're getting into robotic surgery, those kind of use cases, right? And very high speed gaming kind of thing. So 6G is definitely going to help, and it's going to be more stable. It's going to be more cost effective. We know 5G is expensive. 6G, I believe, is more optimized on cost. So apart from the ability to provide us a better network throughput and a stable ultra low latency connectivity and high reliable connectivity, it's also going to be an ROI. 5G, we know it suffers from a ROI challenge. So 6G is definitely going to help.
Thanks so much. Lakshmi, do you want to talk about? Okay. So let me just ask one more question to each of the panel member. A common question related to the single most important infrastructure decision that India can take in next 1 or 2 years that you feel is very important for the sovereign AI in the country. Like a common question for all of you. Like, what do you feel?
Sure. I think in a way, like energy might be the most important thing for compute today. So like having an ability to generate like power locally within the same campus as the where the data centers are. So either through a nuclear SMR or BSR, which is the Indian standard, could be like, which is already being done in place, could be the most important decision for India for the energy for compute. Especially if you look at like 10 gigawatts added to the grid, it's going to be like a lot of infrastructure that will need to be added for that. On the other hand, having local power which can even replace the generators, because nuclear power can potentially run at a highly reliable 8-year, 10-year time scale where you don't need to turn it off and you just need battery energy storage systems, nuclear power on site, right next to a data center park. So that could be something very important for the future of sovereign compute in India.
Thank you so much. You want to speak? Yeah, Lakshmi.
Yeah, building on what Tarun just said about energy availability, assuming that you have these huge grids supplying power to the data centers, the next step would be to actually have the ecosystem that can build data centers at scale and be able to operate and maintain it for all the heterogeneous hardware that you would have on it. That will be key to making it available as a sovereign AI infrastructure to all those different types of users who would want access to it.
Thank you so much. Neil, continue.
Yeah, while sustainable power, nuclear power is well taken, I would also add access to risk capital. I think while India mission is, we have to continue doing that, given that access to compute, which is available at price points which can be afforded and you can build and innovate on top of it is absolutely important. But also, access to risk capital. We don't have the depth in the risk capital market, whether through VCs or private equities in India as of now. Whatever we're seeing right now is on the data center side, which is good, but we need access to risk capital. That will foster, that will put innovation on the AI side on steroids. While data center is attracting attention, which is very, very important because that's a foundational input to the entire AI innovation. But very soon we'll find that we are not able to scale these small startups because they don't have the access to risk capital for them to scale and innovate and catch up.
Understand. Any thoughts around, like, this is for all of you, like how quantum can change, the energy efficient part of the work, or maybe the kind of, future we see for India from an AI perspective?
Sure. So I think like the integration of quantum with the current HPC platforms on GPUs are something that needs to be a focus area for India, especially as quantum is the compute of the future. So I think like we are looking at like anywhere between a scale of 5 to 10 years, where quantum computing will become a very, very important part of the overall compute ecosystem. So I do believe that CPU will continue to exist, GPU will continue to exist, QPUs would get added to it. So QPUs would have like certain workloads that are very, very specific from a security cryptographic standpoint that would be very, very helpful to add.
Lakshmi, maybe you can talk about this as well, but in case if you also want to touch base on AI supercomputers, in case if it's something of your interest.
I think while quantum computing is taking off and it's encouraging to see a lot of it coming to life, we're still very far away from making it viable through the right software infrastructure, programming, to actually get it to a point where people can use it. In addition to that, we also need to solve the problems of security and other specific problems which will be thrown open again when quantum computing comes in. Much of the security infrastructure today can break when the real quantum computing is enabled on large scale. So solving some of these problems to me is quintessential to making quantum available and viable.
I don't have much inputs on quantum yet. We're closely looking at the space, and I think both Tarun and Lakshmi talked about the security challenges with the quantum. I'm not sure whether from beyond the research labs, it's available for deployments in an enterprise context yet. The use cases are even now restricted to the security side. So we're closely watching the space. That's what I can say. Beyond that, still looks like some time away, but maybe we'll see, as Tarun is saying, QPUs very soon in the data centers. How soon it is out there. I'm not able to speculate on it.
That's interesting. And in fact, from sovereignty perspective, quantum is very important for the country as well, if we see. By the way, please visit Fujitsu booth. We have a quantum mock-up there for 64 qubit system. So we have put it there. I think we have a time for one question. If somebody is interested to ask, to our panel members, we can take one question. Okay, I think we can conclude the session. What we understood that, okay. Okay, please ask, yeah.
No. Please. Okay, this is a question which relates to an AI convention. Like in shipping, we have in public international domain, we have the United Nations Law of the Sea Convention, which brought the whole world together. So everybody were going randomly all over the place. So there were different sea treaties and different conventions which brought everybody together. And it created a constitution of the oceans, where after different bodies of the UN, they have their own respective places to play. Now, when we look at AI, it looks like the ocean by itself, and a very deep and a very dangerous one. And we are all coming up with so many different countries are coming up with so many different kind of, creations, innovations, let's just call it products and competence. Where does it all integrate? How will this unify? Now she just spoke about quantum, and we are talking about supercomputers, we are talking about cables, we are talking about cross-border. We are how do we bring everything into one responsible AI convention where the globe takes responsibility for everybody? So,
I think that's a very pertinent question. Thank you for the question. We obviously don't have the answer, but I think what will be required is a multidisciplinary, multi-country initiative where all sectors are represented, which can put responsible and ethical AI guardrails on what are provided publicly, which is there in parts. Every company offering AI puts its own guardrails on its models. But I think at a global level, we don't have standards or conventions. And I think eventually that will be needed with the pace at which the innovations here are happening.
Yeah, so company has their own way of dealing with AI. They have their own guardrails, and most of the companies are now establishing ethics and governance office for secure and safe deployment for AI. Now, a common global guideline that is still not in place. There are some fundamentals that people follow, but if you want to fit everything in one framework, it's very difficult for now. This is what we are seeing. So I think with these words, we can conclude the session, and thank you so much for part of the session, and thank you so much all of you to listening us patiently. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amit, and thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We can now begin with segment 2. And I'll request the panelists to come back for the group photo at the end of the session. Thank you so much. Segment 2 is a startup showcase where we'll hear from startups building cutting-edge AI solutions from India, for India, and for the global south. Our first speaker is Saurav Bandyopadhyay, founder and chief scientist of Shunya Labs.
आम्ही भारतीय आहोत आमची विविधता आमची ओळख आहे અમે ભારતીય છીએ અમારી વિવિધતા અમારી ઓળખ છે
हम भारतीय हैं हमारी तनुओ हमारी पहचान है
आमे भारतीय आमर विविधता आमर परिचय
ਅਸੀਂ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਵਿਭਿੰਨਤਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਹਿਚਾਣ ਹੈ
আমি ভারতীয় আমার বৈচিত্র্য আমার পরিচয়
हम भारतीय छी हमर विविधता हमर पहचान छी
असी भारतीय छु पनुन विविधता पनुन पहचान छु हामी भारतीय हो हमरो विविधता हमरो पहचान हो
हम सिंधी आहियूं असांजी विविधता असांजी पहचान आहे
अस भारतीय साडी विविधता साडी पहचान है
आम्ही भारतीय आहोत.
Thank you so much. My name is Saurav Bandyopadhyay. So whatever you are seeing, we can still keep playing the sound a bit. So here we are launching 55 Indian languages real-time translation model. All the TTSs are in-house built. The translation model is a very small model. It's a 1.3 billion parameter model. Along with NASSCOM, we are putting it in the open weights domain. We have languages wherein there was absolutely no coverage. So data availability, accessibility was a major issue. So this is the first model that we are kind of launching from India. And on the continuing from the previous panel discussion, we were talking about compute. Yes, compute is extremely important, but we have to bring in innovation as well. Like, whatever little compute that we have, I mean, we have developed it with 4 GPUs for that matter. So this is for the public services, and you can see all those Indian languages being written, being spoken. We can just increase the voice a bit. Can we increase the sound a bit?
हम भारतीय हैं हमार विविधता हमार पहचान है
आमे भारतीय आमर विविधता आमर परिचय
हम भारतीय छन हमर विविधता हमर पहचान छे हम भारतीय हन हमरी विविधता हमरी पहचान है
हम भारतीय छन हमर विविधता हमर पहचान छन
हमन भारतीय हवन हमार विविधता हमार पहचान हवे
आम भारतीय हा आमरी विविधता आमरी पहचान हा
आम भारतीय आहोत आमरी विविधता आमरी ओळख आहे
आम भारतीय हा आमरी विविधता आमरी पहचान है हम भारतीय हों हमार विविधता हमार पहचान है अस भारतीय सारी विविधता सारी पहचान है हम भारतीय छन हमर विविधता हमर पहचान छन
અમે ભારતીય છીએ અમારી વિવિધતા અમારી ઓળખ છે
మేము భారతీయులము మా వైవిధ్యం మా గుర్తింపు
நாங்கள் இந்தியர்கள் எங்கள் பல்வகைமை எங்கள் அடையாளம்
ನಾವು ಭಾರತೀಯರು ನಮ್ಮ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುತು
ഞങ്ങൾ ഇന്ത്യൻ ആണ് നമ്മുടെ വൈവിധ്യം നമ്മുടെ തിരിച്ചറിയൽ ആണ്
ನಾವು ಭಾರತೀಯರು ನಮ್ಮ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುತು
आम भारतीय आमरी विविधता आमरी पहचान है
ನಾವು ಭಾರತೀಯರು ನಮ್ಮ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುತು हम भारतीय आहोत हमार विविधता हमार पहचान है
আমরা ভারতীয় আমাদের বৈচিত্র্য আমাদের পরিচয়
आम हलो भारती आणि विविधता आणि पहचान
आंगा इंडिया है आंगी डिवर्सिटी एंगे आइडेंटिटी और आम
We are Indians. Our diversity is our identity. वयं भारतीयाः स्मः अस्माकं विविधता अस्माकं परिचयः अस्ति
Okay, so here is the official launch. And yes, we do support Sanskrit as well. So it's one of the most difficult language to translate. And in a 1.3 billion parameter model, you have all of it. It is out in open sourced. It was a challenge, right? You know, no one talks about the long tail data set. Here we are talking about our technology haves and have-nots. I never believe AI is going to replace any human being for that matter. It's people with AI who are going to replace people without AI. In that scenario, if we do not support everyone in their language, if the supports are not available in the long tail languages, we are talking about a design on which we are planning to have, you know, the AI haves and have not divides. And this is where also I would like to thank Google and Google Vani project, wherein they have gone to the local geographies and individual districts to collect that data. I would like to thank NASCOM because otherwise, you know, a small startup like us, for us to take a global ambition would not have been possible. Last but not the least, yes, we have broken all the world records in terms of ASR. I'm not a big fan of ASR. Sorry, I'm a big fan of ASR. I'm not a big fan on word error rate to be a metric of ASR. But our Pingala V1 has the lowest word error rate across every possible languages globally. There we support 204 languages. That's also open weight model. You can go and check it in Hugging Face. Things are verifiable. And we are talking about OpenASR leaderboard ranking. So thank you so much. I will, if you have any questions, I'll take questions from you or otherwise. Here is the launch. You can download the QR and we officially launch it. Any questions for me?
So, what's your business model? As in, you've open source everything. It's on Hugging Face, Open Weights. So, what?
Okay, so business model.
What do you want to do now?
Exactly. Okay, so there is a, we have three-tier or rather two-tier approach. So we have large model providers. They just provide horizontal generic models. And then we have few players who are just wrappers, or I have a massive respect for wrappers, but you have players who provide fine-tuning over the existing model. Problem is, we need verticalized model development. Here we are showing the whole model was developed in less than 40 GPU hours of training. We are talking about a new market wherein we are talking about custom models for every individual that will be sovereign, that you can host it at your place. You don't have to pay the token tax of a big model, and it will outperform any major models which is horizontal in nature. So we are creating a space wherein we are talking about a custom model development for your use case, for your edge or your own premise or devices. So yes, we are showing the capability. Few things we are not doing for profit like this. It's for the society. But for profit, we create custom models from scratch, and we take just 40 GPU hours on an average to kind of develop a model. So this is a different way of looking at things. Any other questions? Okay, time up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Saurav. Next, we have Ravinder Kumar, founder and CEO of TechNode 8, and I would request to be within the time limit of 5 minutes each. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Can we pause the video, please? Let me introduce first what we are trying to do here. Thank you, Sudeep. So Saurav was mentioning that my name is Ravinder, I am founder of TechNode 8. Saurav was mentioning that AI will not replace people. I always feel bad mostly on this occasion because probably we should discuss after what we are trying to do here. So I come from a background, I worked with a company, I would not like to name it, but that company achieved 100% automation in their own factories way back in 2012. Complete factory, zero workforce working on full capacity. Now that is the world we are headed to. Why we need to do that in India? Even if today you visit any shop floor, you will find most of the manufacturers struggling to find workforce. And we are competing against some of the best out there in the world to sustain our manufacturing. Now to sustain manufacturing, automation is a need. People need to automate their factories. But the problem is, how do you even conceptualize, build and deploy the automation solution? So that is something which we want to democratize for everyone. TechNode 8 AI, we are building a co-pilot primarily to make industrial automation and engineering as easy as DIY. So there are 3 modules in the engineering life cycle. Generally speaking, there are 3 phases: the concept design phase, the deployment phase, and then eventually there is the troubleshooting phase where you fix the machines. So in our co-pilot, we will have generally 3 modules for each of these phases. Can we please play the video? There's some music, entertaining music, yeah, thank you. So generally what happens is, when you have to build any automation or robotic solution, the know-how becomes the primary constraint. Here, using agentic AI, designing a robotics cell becomes as easy as DIY. You come, you just mention your requirements, and the agents do all the deep research. They give you the design of the cell and how it will look like. They give you the deployment architectures with engineering drawings and the step-by-step procedure. How do you really put this solution together? You can also visualize them as videos. How will it look like in your factory? Can we hold here, please? Yes. So that is the first phase. Now what it does is that a manufacturer, tier 1, tier 2 small manufacturer, who today does not have the know-how to build such engineering solution in-house, even he can easily design and deploy. So that is the first module. Then we move on to the second phase, where we have to program. Literally entire automation, similar to softwares, runs on programming. So in the second phase, the agents, they also can generate the programs. Literally entire world's 50% run automation runs on PLCs alone. So PLCs can be programmed. Rest of all, if you cover the rest 30%, about 80% is covered by PLCs, CNCs and robots. So all that can be done through agentic AI. Can we play the video, please? So here what we are showing is a live example with a Japanese company where we did robot programs. Now this is a physical AI. What happens generally is that somebody asked me why ChatGPT can't do this. What happens is, in the real world, you have 3D coordinates. How does the robot understand where is the object placed? And how does it operate in real world? So those coordinates needs to be inserted. Similarly, when it comes to CNC programming, how does the cutting happens on a workpiece? That needs to be understood by the agents. Only then it can give you the real coordinates. You can simulate, you can see, and then of course then push it on to the real machines. Can we hold here, please? So that is the second part for you. So concept designing, moving on to the programming part, and eventually the final part is you have put the system together, you have deployed it, now you have to troubleshoot it. In the troubleshooting part, the agents can still again understand. So it's basically like creating a brain which understands your factory. There are 7 layers, and it understands your factory, it understands what is happening, what kind of machines you have, what kind of processes you have, the components inside the machines, the technology inside of machines, the system integration, how these systems talk to each other, the physical system, how are they integrated to each other, and then the technology inside till sub-component level. So that is what is required generally when it comes to the maintenance part. So can we play this one, please? This is something which we are right now discussing with Indian Air Force, where they want to use it as a maintenance co-pilot for high value defense equipment. So here it's like you just say the error, the system tells you how to open it up, where exactly in this whole system that particular problem belong, and how it can be solved. This UX of course can be changed, it will evolve over the period of time, but the idea is to say that this is the world where we are headed to. So I'm sorry Saurabh, but AI probably will replace, but it's not about replacing. The point is getting to a point where we can compete against the world. The genie is anyways out of the bottle. There is no controlling it. So this is it from my side. We are exhibiting at Hall 14, Pod 43. Please visit us. We can show more demonstrations. I think I'm on time. If anybody has any questions for me, we can do that.
Thank you, Ravinder. Our final speaker is Rohitash Dev Sharma from Soket AI Labs.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I'm Rohitash. I look at business and partnerships at Soket AI Labs. We are a deep tech startup based out of Bangalore, founded back in 2019. We are into building core foundation models, and today I'm not just here to talk about Soket, but also I'll be talking about some of the aspects that were discussed during the panel discussion around sovereignty. Because in this era, sovereignty is not just a slogan or something, I feel it's a bit more technical. And the India mission represents a clear strategic discussion around it, given the kind of support that we have received from the mission. It's just phenomenal, and we couldn't have ever imagined that coming from a small room of 6 people can actually get this kind of a support from a national mission, from a national initiative. So yeah, like how during the panel discussion, Neil sir said that said something very correctly, that sovereignty means not having your kill switch with someone else, and it might sound dramatic, but it's real. It can be subtle. So imagine API access limits, policy changes, compute restrictions, sanctions, licensing terms changes. So all these can actually hamper your critical digital systems that you thought were foundational, that you thought were sovereign, if they are dependent on foreign systems. So it's not just about building the foundation ourselves. So innovation rests on stable grounds. Can I please request to play the video? So under the India AI mission, Project ECA has been selected as India's Open Foundation Model Initiative, built by Soket AI Labs. It's a 120 billion parameter open source multilingual foundation model. But the real headline is not the size, it's the ownership of the data pipeline, training stack, evaluation, ecosystem, safety framework. When you control the foundation, you control the trajectory. So you can design for Indian scale, you can design for global south scale. As part of ECA, for the first phase, we are building ECA code, because sovereignty must translate into productivity, and ECA code is all about execution. It's a in-house math and code foundation model with AI-assisted coding, secure code generation and summarization, analytics at scale, and enterprise-grade data workflows. This is about strengthening our engineering layer internally. In the next phase, which is yet to come, we'll be focusing on ECA defense. In defense and critical infrastructure, I don't think any country or any nation in this world has an option to outsource that kind of an intelligence. So it has to stay within the country, within our people, and we are building it. These systems are built for secure inference, sensor reasoning, autonomous systems, mission critical reliability. In these domains, independence is not optional, it's foundational. Now let's just widen the lens a bit. This is also a global south moment. Many emerging economies face similar challenges: multilingual complexity, infrastructure constraints, affordability pressure, strategic dependency risks, and messy and noisy environments. We don't have these kind of issues with the Western markets, and therefore the Western models seem so impressive to us. But India and the global south needs different models. We don't need to replicate GPT or Claude or Gemini. That's not the point. If India builds sovereign AI capabilities successfully under the mission, it does more than strengthen our domestic ecosystem. It reshapes how partnerships evolve within the global south countries, because when India can offer regionally relevant models, collaborative infrastructure frameworks, secure deployment capabilities, it shifts the equation from dependency to partnerships. And that has economic, strategic, and geopolitical implications as well. So when we talk about ECA code or ECA defense, we are really talking about one integrated direction: build the foundation, strengthen execution, secure the strategic layer, all aligned under the India mission. And if you'd like to see our models in action, some of them, I invite you to visit our booth at Hall 5, ground floor, 5.20 booth at Bharat Mandapam. I'd be happy to continue the conversation over there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rohitash. So with this, we are at the end of our session. I would like to announce that for all speakers, NASSCOM will be planting 10 trees each, and we will be sharing the digital certificate by today. I would also invite the speakers on stage to pass on the speaker mementos. Thank you. Speakers for the panel as well as for the founder segment. Thank you so much.